Hello. So as part of the ROA's series of virtual tours in the run-up to the Investic Derby Festival, today we're visiting Epsom and we'll get to show you around.
Hi everybody. The Derby in the Oaks, Epsom, everybody's dream from I was a young kid, and I remember my father's passion for the dream of trying to win the Derby, and my grandfather had the same passion, and great-grandfather as well, and so it's very much in the blood. And when I started Highclere Thoroughbred racing, it was absolutely top of the tree to try and find a yearling with my brother-in-law John Warren that was capable of running in a classic race, and of course the Derby was number one, and the Oaks as well. Of course, we bought a filly. And we had a horse back in the 1998, I think it was, Housemaster, who was trained by Michael Bell, and he ran in the Chester Vase, and he won the Chester Vase, but was disqualified, which was a great shame. It was a group race, and those were early days for Highclere Thoroughbred racing. So we then decided we're going to go for the Derby, and he ran a hell of a race. He finished fourth. We got a huge shout, and only beaten on the line for third. So that was a great thrill, and we got the taste, the bug for having a Derby runner. And then in 2005, the dream happened when, for the Royal Ascot Racing Club, we managed to win the Derby with Motivator. Without doubt, one of the greatest thrills of all time. Highclere managed the Royal Ascot Racing Club. We bought this beautiful son of Montjeu for 75,000 guineas, brilliantly trained by Michael Bell, and he won so impressively, so easily. I remember Johnny Murtagh telling me, you know, Harry said, all I was thinking in the last quarter of a mile was, don't fall off, don't fall off. And even before that, in 2000, we had a very, very good filly called Petrushka, who was third in the 1,000 guineas, and then went to the Oaks, trained by Sir Michael Stout, and ridden by Kieran Fallon. It was one of those moments where Kieran was shuffled back to last, lost his position, and she came flying through to finish fourth, and then went on to win the Irish Oaks. But these are the races that owners, breeders, syndicate managers, everybody wants to take part in, wants to have a runner in. And we've been lucky enough at Highclere to have tasted from that cup, and the quest is on to find another one. So wish all the contenders this year the very best of luck, and hopefully Highclere will have a runner in 2021.
The first time Percy was ever beaten was in the 2,000 guineas, and he came second to George Washington. Absurdly, we were very disappointed in a way by that, but afterwards we discovered that he'd sustained an injury in running, and it was very doubtful whether he would be ready for the Derby. But Marcus Tregonning and his team at Kingwood did an incredible job with him, and he came right about a week before the race, and he did a good gallop, and Marcus said, we're ready to go. So on Derby Day, we got there very early to try and miss the traffic, and then we were entertained royally by Epsom Racecourse, and we were given a table. But Marcus Tregonning was late because he'd been stopped by the police for speeding, I think, and although they let him off. And Martin Dwyer had a ride at Bath the day before and had fallen off and been injured, and it was extremely doubtful that he was going to be able to ride him too. So it was all very uncertain what was going to happen then. Although he was cleared by the racecourse doctor, and so he was on board. But then they went down to the start, and they were supposed to be the last horse to be loaded, and he wouldn't go in. He didn't. They tried 3 times to get him in, and then we began to think that he wasn't going to go in. And my wife Victoria had a runner in Hong Kong previously, and she'd flown all the way out there, and that refused to go into the stalls and had to be withdrawn. So we were terrified that would happen, but it didn't. He went in and he broke actually extremely well, and they went up the hill, but then he started to be overtaken, and he lost ground, and I lost sight of him. I was watching on the lawn with my binoculars through the screen. And when they moved forward to the lead horses, he wasn't amongst them, and I didn't know where he was. And it was only really right towards the end of the race, when everybody was shouting Sir Percy around us, that I thought he might have a chance. And they all passed the post, 4 of them in a line, I think. And then we were waiting for the results, and Marcus was saying, "Oh, it's not us." But in the photo showed that he'd got up by a nose, and we couldn't believe it. We were absolutely amazed, and it was absolutely wonderful. And after the race, we were, sort of dazed. Really, we were taken to a press meeting to give interviews, and then that went on so long that the Queen had asked us for a drink, which I believe is customary for a Derby winner, and we were late for that, so that was awful, but that was very nice. And then we went, the race course were superb, and they gave us the run of the Derby suite, and asked us if and Stephen Wallace, who was the chairman of the race course, or the manager, asked us if we wanted to ask any friends. So I said yes, we had friends there, but actually they hadn't come with us because we didn't really have any great expectations. Anyway, they all were allowed to join us, and then we watched the race on the screens, and I saw what had happened. It was an absolutely amazing day, and we were wonderfully looked after. And this is what they presented us with, the Derby Trophy.
We're running.
To have a classic winner like Annapurna and winning the Oaks is just the ultimate dream for any owner. And I can honestly say that when we went along, we hoped that we might run to a place, but we never really imagined we would win, as the hot favourite was Aidan O'Brien's Pink Dogwood. And she was given a dream ride by Frankie in the most perfect position. And when we saw Pink Dogwood coming up, we thought, this is it. But she battled on really gamely, and she won. It was just, we couldn't believe it. It's fantastic, absolutely over the moon.
So this is Annapurna, close up, who won the Oaks last year. And the thrill for any owner or breeder to have a horse that's actually good enough to run around the Epsom course in either the Classics, the Derby or the Oaks is just unimaginable. It's what we all aim for and strive for. So to have actually had 2 runners, and one which we still own here, our lovely Annapurna, is just remarkable. And the most exciting thing you can think of if you're in the horse.
Welcome to Epsom Downs Racecourse Stables. Come on in. Were built in the 60s. Previous to that, they were at Tattenham Corner Stables. And at Tattenham Corner Stables, there's a house called Hill House. Now, Mr. Hill was the guy who designed the stables here. Now, we've got 118 boxes that we will use, virtually all of them, on Oaks and Derby Day in a normal year. And normally, we probably have 3/4 of that full for the other meetings, which are 11 meetings we have here. Mixture between spring, autumn, and late autumn, which is our season finale.
So, Dom, when we're not racing, what would be going on at the stables here? What would you be getting up to?
During the summer, a lot of mucking out and a lot of bedding up. During the winter, it'll be steam cleaning, painting, general maintenance. There's a lot of greenery here compared to Sandown Park. So summer is also hedges and grass cutting, and it's just general keeping it nice and tidy. And once the winter's over and once we start getting into January, it's kind of like head down, bedding all the boxes back up, ready for our spring meeting. And then when the spring meeting is, then everything gets done for the Derby. But I don't do anything different for the Derby that I do for any other meeting. I try and keep it as neat and tidy as I can do for the whole season.
So all horses are treated the same, whether they're Derby horses or...
Every horse has got 4 legs, a head and tail. They don't know they've got a better engine than the other ones. So they've all got to be treated with the same respect.
And have we had any like local trainers use these boxes when they can't use their own stables?
We've had 1 or 2 local trainers that have had them refurb their yard during the winter time, so we've allowed them to use our facilities here, which is nice. We're helping the local community out, and it's also good to get horses in here during the winter and it used as a proper yard, not just a day yard that we would do normally for a race day.
And what would be a typical race day for you in the morning? So what time would you be here, and what's the kind of process of welcoming horses onto the yard?
Normal race day would be, I'd be here for 6:30, just to make sure everything's in place. Also to see if we'd had any horses come overnight, that they're all settled or they need to go out onto the track. And I'm just here for generally people if they need me. Probably about 8 o'clock in the morning we'll start getting the horses come through the gates. They will be asked if they want a certain kind of bedding, paper or shavings. And also what we'll do is we'll check them in and we'll get them into the boxes, and then I'll help any of the stable staff out with any queries or information regarding declaring or going up to the racecourse and seeing various officials.
And what's the atmosphere usually like on a race day? Is it quite calm here, or is there quite a buzz going on?
Derby Day, you could have 150,000 people a quarter of a mile up the hill, on the hill and around the racecourse, but in here you could probably hear a pin drop. We're very lucky, we're just dipped so that the noise and the sound goes over our heads. And, you know, Derby Day's an exception because there's a lot of nervous tension around because everybody thinks the horse is going to run well or hopes the horses are going to run well. So it's a lot quieter than a normal race day, and that's just because of nerves, because people are excited. And it's a lovely thing to watch them turn up on Derby Day with the hopes and dreams, and then one of them will go home with the hopes and dreams. And I've seen some really nice things happen with people and their horses, because they might not own them, but to them they're 24/7 with them, and it's their world.
And so do you think, obviously with racing being behind closed doors this year, do you think it will make much difference down here in the atmosphere?
Not really. I think it will be a little bit more quieter. Then that's just because of the amount of bodies that normally would be down here. Owners come down with the trainers and various other people that would be down here on a Derby Day won't be needed this year because we're doing it behind closed doors. I think it's going to be pretty eerie, but it shouldn't. The horses really don't know that different. They don't.
They're still going to be just as excited, aren't they?
They're going to be just as excited. In fact, it might suit 1 or 2 individuals that there's no public about. And that's because, you know, the whole fanfare and bands and skydivers, and there's none of that, and there's nothing to kind of like to light them up. On the other hand, it might work the other way, where horses that you do want to get a little bit buzzed up because it makes them race better won't do because they're too chilled.
Yeah, very true. And so let's have a little tour around the stables. What's the kind of winning box? Is there one lucky box you would say?
There isn't really one. Well, there is one lucky box, and that's been something that's been going on well before my time, and it goes back to the early 70s. And that was when Vincent O'Brien used to train in Ireland, and he'd bring his Derby horses, and he would always ask the year his horses would run to have the same boxes the following year. So he'd had to book them a year in advance. And from there, that kind of carried on when Aidan O'Brien, I suppose, moved in there. It's just somewhere they like to go, and it's the tradition has followed on since Vincent and now Aidan. And there has been boxes down here where we have some very lucky horses, and they've gone on to be exceptional sires. Galileo being one of them, and then the sons of Galileo have been in there. But to be quite honest, my personal point of view is that if your horse is going to win the Derby, I think it's already sorted before it gets here and what box it goes in. But trainers are superstitious, lads are superstitious, and they dislike consistency. And it's just nice for us to be able to do that to them. As you see here, we had Ruler of the World, and then skipped a year, Golden Horn, skipped a year, Wings of Eagles. Now last year we thought we might have the winning Derby horse in that one, just to keep the pattern. However, it didn't happen, and he went in the box next door.
We were hoping, weren't we, that we'd have it.
Yeah, we'd be able to keep
it was going to be the lucky one.
But, when whoever uses these in the summer or whatever, they're just given a number. So I don't know the name of the horse, I just give them the number of the stable where they're going in. So here we've got boxes, we've got 5 to 10. and it'll just be whoever, you're in boxes 5 to 10 or 5 to 6, and they choose which boxes they're going in. They kind of get scanned by the BHA, and then they just decide what box they're going.
Hello, we're here today in the grounds of the Durbins at Epsom. This is historic woodland that contains the graves of 4 Derby winners and a host of other winners. 2 of them are bred here, and this is the grave of the 1838 Derby winner Amato. Amato was bred at the Durbins by Sir Gilbert Heathcote, and then Sir Gilbert Heathcote sent it up on the downs to be trained by Ralph Sherwood at the area that we now call Downs House, which at that time was on the inside of the racecourse. And Amato won the Derby, and that was his only appearance on the racecourse. And then he came back to Sir Gilbert's stud. After he died, Sir Gilbert buried him here. Sir Gilbert then sold the Durbins to Lord Rosebery. Lord Rosebery subsequently had 3 Derby winners, all of which are buried here, and which we'll go and look at now. Well, we've just walked up the hill, quite a steep hill from the grave of Amato, and we're at the area of the 3 Derby winners that were owned by Lord Rosebery. On the way up, we passed the gravestone of Scintillant, which was the dam of Ladus. The thing about Ladus is we've always called it Ladus locally in Epsom. Apparently Lord Rosebery preferred the French pronunciation and called it Lardar, but it's a bit late getting a change of habit. You see there, Ladus was 1891 to 1914. He won the Derby 1894, went to stud at Lord Rosebery's other stud at Mentmore, where he was quite successful. He was quite a successful sire. Lord Rosebery had 2 studs, this one and the one at Mentmore, which was originally the property of his wife, Lady Hannah Rothschild, and he tended to keep the stallions at Mentmore, and then the mother and foals he brought back to the Durbins. His theory was that the ground at the Durbins was more suitable for the development of young horses. It's on chalk, it's well drained, it's sheltered, and as he said, he didn't want young foals standing in cold, wet fields. So he had two studs, and this is where the mother and foals came to. So that's Ladus, or Lardar, as I shall now start calling it. And then we go on to Lord Derby's next winner, Savisto, won the Derby and the St Ledger, won the 1895 Derby and the St Ledger. Again, he stood at stud at Mentmore. He wasn't very prolific, and after a few years Lord Rosebery gave up with him as a stallion. He came back here about 1908. He spent his last 6 years here, and then he was put down in 1914. That's Savisto. Now we go to the 3rd Derby winner. This is called Cicero. 1902 to 1923, as you can just see in the graveyard. He won the Derby in 1905, and his dam, Gas, was a half-sister to Ladus, so you start to see the interbreeding of the bloodlines that Lord Rosebery was trying to build up. So this is it. Spot of woodland, 3 Derby winners, beautifully preserved. Just down the hill there's a 4th Derby winner, and this is well maintained. This is now a listed building as such. And there can't be many places in the country where there are 4 Derby winners buried close at hand.
So this is the wonderful indoor school. The thing that really strikes you is how quiet it is.
Well, here we are in Lord Rosebery's riding school. This was built in 1874, designed by the Victorian architect George Devey. It's now 2-star listed. As I explained earlier, Lord Rosebery had 2 studs, and the Durbin's one he used for mothers and foals. For a racing pier, he didn't go racing often. He said that the joy of seeing mothers and foals together and watch them growing up. And to facilitate this, he had this marvellous building built here, which is Gothic, church-like, and he had his own raised platform built there so that he could sit and actually watch as the horses were schooled and gently broken in. Now we're at the Cicero Yard in the Durbin's complex at Epsom. Again, originally part of Lord Rosebery's stud, but post-war it's been used as a training stable. For many years, Dermot Whelan trained here, trained a couple of Northumberland Plate winners, Cup winners. Joe Norton was here. He trained a very good mare called Heaver Gulf Rose, who was actually stabled in that box there, and she became known as the Air Miles horse, I think. Joe took her everywhere, Denmark, Germany, etc. And more recently, Brett Johnson's trained from here. Looking around, you see the magnificent Victorian architecture. In the early days of the Derby, horses tend to come to Epsom a lot earlier because of the lack of transport. So, for example, the Earl of Jersey would send his horses down to Mickleham straight after the Guinness meeting. John Scott would walk his horses down from Yorkshire to Leatherhead, and various other trainers would camp up here for a few weeks. And certainly this went on until the 20th century. The old Aga Khan used it. I've seen a picture of Mahmood being led out from his box over there. And Boggy Whelan was great friends with Vincent O'Brien, and Vincent used to stable his horses here when he was at Epsom. So at some time, one of these boxes, they've seen Baginski, the Minstrel, and all of Vincent's other great horses.
So the Cicero Yard has been the birthplace of Derby winners, and now is producing show jumpers. Mary Lou's kindly going to show us its most recent arrival.
This is Aisha from shape, and our little Durden's Midnight Star.
Ah, maybe come and have a peek. Mummy's happy for us to do so. Hello, Mum. You're a wonderful mum, aren't you? Look at your beautiful foal. How lovely. Thank you very much, that's lovely. And best of luck. Thank you for joining us for our brief virtual tour of Epsom. We hope you've enjoyed it. Stay well, everyone.